Shabbat Shalom. There's a verse in this week's Torah portion that has baffled students of the Bible for thousands of years. After the Exodus from Egypt, the Israelites approached Mount Sinai to receive the Ten Commandments and the law. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, travels out to the wilderness to greet Moses. Moses bowed low and kissed Jethro. Guys, deference to your father-in-law pays many dividends to this day. It's a good habit, trust me. The two exchanged pleasantries, and after catching up with each other, Jethro offered a large Thanksgiving meal in gratitude for all that God had done for his son-in-law, Moses, and Moses' people. And here's what the verse in chapter 18 of the book of Exodus says. Vayikach Yitro ola uzvachim leElohim, vayavo Aaron v'chol ziknei Yisrael le'echol lechem im choten Moshe lifnei Elohim. And Jethro brought animal offerings and grain offerings, and Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to partake of the meal before God, along with Moses' father-in-law, Jethro. What has baffled commentators all these generations is, where is Moses? Moses' brother, Aaron, and the elders of Israel, who numbered 70 strong, they come. They smell the smoking barbecue, and like flies to the light, they join the sacrificial meal. Who knows, maybe they assume that Jethro, who, by the way, is the priest of Midian and a very important and wealthy man in his own right, maybe they think he knows how to throw parties. Maybe with lots of strong drink, you know, the way that non-Jews like to do it. And they sit down, and as the Bible tells us, partake of the meal with Moses' father-in-law. But perceptive readers of the Bible ask, where is Moses? What happened to him? It was his father-in-law, after all. There is no mention of him joining the dinner dance. Where did he go? In 1868, Reverend Henry Ward Beecher, Harriet's younger brother, and one of the great preachers of America at that time, delivered a sermon in his pulpit at Plymouth Church. The church is still here, by the way, over there in Brooklyn Heights, not far from the BQE in Lower Manhattan. The title of Beecher's sermon was "The Strong to Bear the Weak." In it, he referred to the Ten Commandments that Jews recite today around the world in the Parsha of the Week. He suggested that there are three stages of human development in life and society. The first and most basic stage is rules. We learn at an early age to follow rules. Rules, laws, these regulate our lives and social interactions. The Ten Commandments are an example of rules. Rules just tell you what to do. Here's what you must do, and here is what you mustn't do. You must honor your parents. You must observe Shabbat. You mustn't steal. You mustn't murder. You mustn't covet. Rules are the lowest stage of human development because we must first learn how to behave. At this stage, we're not really interested in reasons or principles. When a child asks us, why should I not hit my classmate? For us, sometimes it's good enough to answer because. Even modern parents, you know, we who take so much time explaining to our young ones so that they will have high self-esteem and that they will like us and not fear us, and so that we can be their friends for their whole lives. Even we who have advanced degrees in modern parenting, at some point are content if our children just obey the rules, even if they don't understand why. Beecher argued that many people in many societies never really progress beyond this first, most basic level of development. It's why rules are so important. We can't wait for people to be convinced why they shouldn't steal. Some people might never be convinced, and then we would never be able to live in a decent society. The second level of human development, according to Beecher, is principles. At this stage, we learn how to consider the grounds and reasons for the rules. We learn why we should do certain things and why we should refrain from certain acts. We go to schools of higher education, and there we learn how to adjust our lives to a number of key prevailing principles: human dignity, freedom of thought, freedom of action, tolerance, autonomy. And once you have mastered these principles, according to Beecher, you have ascended to a higher sphere, a higher level of human existence. Beecher thought that most educated people live in this sphere, the second sphere. We evolved from the mechanical following of rules to a life of higher principles and higher ideals. But Beecher pointed out that while there are risks at staying at the first level, and they are sort of self-evident, a less developed, less mature understanding of life and society, and lesser prospects of success in modern civilizations, there are also serious risks in ascending from the first level to the second level. These include how others look at us and how we look at others. Those who emphasize following rules are inclined to think that we are infidels, having cast off religion entirely. While we see ourselves as being guided by higher principles, others often think that what we call reform or progressive Judaism is in fact no reform and no progress at all. They think it's the opposite, of falling backwards, a decline of Judaism. And more, the very act of ascending to the second level can create in you an unhealthy contempt for the obligation to follow rules, and of those people who take rules seriously. You begin to develop an air of superiority, thinking that maybe the rules don't really apply to you. They're for those. And you begin judging people exclusively by your newfound philosophy. Who needs to honor your parents? Did Kant say that? Did Nietzsche write that? Who needs to observe Shabbat? This was the product of a primitive society that could not anticipate modern technology, but we know better. We can't disconnect from gadgets. Human beings are work. What's this idea of taking time off? It's for the weak, not for the masters of the universe like we New Yorkers. And thus, Beecher warned that you might become intoxicated by this newfound freedom. Liberty might turn to license. You might adopt the approach of the legendary American politician Huey Long, who once said, "The time has come for all good men to rise above principle." And Beecher compared it to a caged bird that was suddenly let free. Freedom is good. And the bird is so cute, so chirpy, so happy. But it doesn't have a clue how to fend for itself outside the cage. And it is soon devoured by the hawk. This is what's happening to progressive movements of all religions in the United States today. We have flown the coop, but we are being devoured by our newfound freedoms. Liberty has become license. It's not that freedom is no good. Freedom is good. We do not want to retreat to the darker days of medieval philosophy, medieval science, and medieval hatred of Jews. We do not want and refuse to be caged. But no one really taught us how to meld freedom with religion. And I've detected some haughtiness about us as well. A disdain for Jews who follow rules. But we ourselves, we have flown the cage, but haven't the first clue how to sustain ourselves outside the cage. That's why we're in such trouble. We have gone from believing everything, following the rules as written, to believing nothing. And as Beecher preached, and forgive the 19th century language, a man is deficient in his manhood when he has no faith. Nothing is so vain as a vacuous man who believes nothing. Besides, as the comedian once said, I wanted to be an atheist, but I gave up. They have no holidays. Well, nowadays, maybe there's Festivus. Almost no one reaches the third level of human development, Beecher said. This is the level of intuition, prophecy, or genius of such exceptional quality as to be almost otherworldly. These are the people who have flashes of insight and brilliance that chart new directions for humanity. Unlike us, they are not subject to the risks inherent in occupying or ascending the first two levels. These are humanity's guides and path breakers. They pave the roads that history follows. And they are the strongest of us. And Beecher was very insistent. The stronger we are, the more responsibility we have for others. The stronger serve the weaker, not the opposite. Beecher clarified, the evidence of going up in the moral scale is not that you dissent from your dogmas and have rejected your ordinances. Strength is not used rightly when it serves only to carry a man above his fellows for his own solitary glory. He is the greatest whose strength carries up the most hearts by attraction of his own. Moses was there on the third level, along with a few exceptional other human beings who have cleared the forests and charted the way for the rest of us, and who carried people along with them by the attraction of their strength. And that's why Moses was not mentioned at Jethro's dinner. What was he doing at the time that Aaron and the 70 elders and Jethro were dining heartily on mounds of food? According to the Midrash, Umoshe, Lehechan halach. Where was Moses? Haya omed umeshamesh alehem. He wasn't dining. He was serving all the others. He was waiting upon them. What an enormously beautiful interpretation. Moses, who was among those select few to reach the third level of understanding, was serving food and was waiting upon the others as they ate. Why? As the rabbis understand, to symbolize that the greater the person, the greater is his service to others.